So if you're a golfer who fats it, thins it, even tops it, but very occasionally gets that flush one, if you can give me less than 10 minutes, I'll save you hundreds of hours of how you're going to hit ball and then ground every single time and start playing the best golf of your life. So when we hear golfers talk about hitting the ball well from the ground, we hear words like compressing the golf ball, flushing it, really striking it powerfully. And yet most golfers never have that shot. They have that weak one like we saw at the start of the video. So what's the biggest difference we see between poor ball strikers and the best players in the world? Well, it's the fact that from a very, very similar address position for a lot of golfers, we tend to see the best players in the world much more into their lead side, much more shaft lean, and that ability to collect ball and then ground. Whereas with the less good ball strikers, we tend to see the complete opposite. So more back on that trail foot, adding loft, maybe not adding loft, but not really getting any shaft lean, and striking the ground first or topping it and thinning the ball. So I think what most golfers will say is they know that as they set up to the golf ball, they need to try and get those hands in front of the ball impact. But it's actually, we don't want to be thinking about getting the hands there. We want that ability to move the body correctly so that we de-loft the club, strike ball and then ground, and whatever speed we generate some nice carry distance. Now, one of the things that the best players in the world do, and it's not an exact science, but whatever the loft on the club at address, so this is an 8-iron at 33 degrees, the best players in the world almost halve that loft. Whereas most golfers I'll see tend to present nearly all of that loft on there. So if we can work through this video with me and help give you some feels with how you're going to move your body that's going to help get that shaft lean, get the body turning out the way, shifting our weight, shifting our pressure, and hitting some of the best shots ever. So the first thing I'd like you to do is actually just rehearse where we'd like to be. So we're going to get into our address position, and then from here, all we're going to do is we're going to move our hips nearer to the target, allowing the hands and everything to go with it. And then once we're there, we're going to just feel that the left leg kind of straightens a little bit, and that'll turn those hips out of the way. So that's very much where we need to feel. But what we'll see there is I'm very much into that left side, and that right foot, even though it's starting to come off the ground, is still very close to the ground, not kind of up and out of the way. So the first thing we're going to practice is we're going to set the club down behind the ball, and then move probably two club heads closer to you, and then set up. And what we want to feel is we're going to move the hips kind of 5 or 6 inches nearer to the target, and then feel that that left hip moves up and out of the way. And straight away there, I can feel how the club's kind of pushing down into the mat a little bit more. So then what we need to feel is, right, if that's the sensation in the backswing, I'm going to make my backswing as normal, and while my arms are still up here, I'm going to move those hips much closer to the target and then swing down. So do that again. Make our backswing, move towards the target, and then swing down. And even on those couple of practice swings, we could see there I was touching the ground ahead of the golf ball. So we're going to do one of those swings a little bit slower than normal. And we see 77 mile an hour club speed, low point 4.9 inches after the ball. Clubs travelled down 6.4 degrees, launched at 14 degrees and carried 150. Now, for anyone that hasn't seen my videos about this before, this is a really key thing. So our ability to move the lowest point of our swing after the golf ball means that the club's going to travel down and collect the ball and then ground. So that's as the club's travelling down to hit the ball, that's when golfers talk about hitting down. So we should never try and hit down, but if we get the motion of our body moving towards the target, the low point will be after the golf ball, and we'll collect ball and then ground as long as we touch ground. So again, have a little practice swing first. And so often with golfers, I see a good backswing made, but the first thing I try to do is turn the hips out of the way. Now, if I kept going from there, I'd hit so far ahead I could miss the golf ball. So what golfers will do is they'll get to the top, start turning out the way, and then back off to try and make contact with the golf ball. They add loft, low point control's poor, there's no speed, and there's no carry. So like I said at the start of the video, this is about a very short video, not 2 seconds like I've said on some driver videos, but a very short video that's going to save you so much time working on wrong things in your swing. So you're going to make that swing to the top, move the hips towards the target, and then swing down. Now, if you are enjoying today's video, thank you for taking the time to watch, but I would love it if you don't already, just take a minute, click the subscribe button, like and share the video, maybe even drop me a comment, because there's still over 85% of you watching videos that aren't subscribed. So I'd really appreciate it if you just took a second to do that for me. So we're going to do one more slightly slower one. You can see there, 83 mile an hour, leaking a bit out to the right, but low point 5.9 inches after the ball. Clubs travel down 7 degrees, launch at nearly 16, and 159 carry. So you'll probably find for most of you, even when you feel you're swinging slower doing that, that ability to strike ball first and de-loft the golf club gets more energy from the club to the ball. So you'll already be hitting the ball further than ever. Now, all we would then want to do is start introducing a little bit more speed. I want a tiny bit thin, so it's come out a little bit lower. But 86 mile an hour, 6 inches after the ball, clubs travel down 7 degrees, like I said, launch a bit lower at 13, and 161 carry. Now, I can put any of the best players up in the world on screen, and they'll be doing exactly this. They kind of make their backswing, they get a big shift towards the target, then the lead leg starts to straighten, and they'll always collect ball and then ground. And I think whenever I've spoken about this in videos in the past, golfers always ask the question, why are we de-lofting the golf club to hit the ball further? For me, it's not just about de-lofting it to hit the ball further, it's de-lofting the club so that we collect ball and then ground. If we've got that very poor delivery, well, it doesn't matter the fact that you might take more loft. If you're catching the ground behind the ball, all the energy's gone. And if you're missing the ground and flipping through impact, the strike's poor and then the ball goes nowhere anyway. So it's a case of understanding that backswing is normal, shift the hips towards the target before anything else is moving, then we can straighten that lead leg. That's going to generate some power, control that low point, and honestly start hitting some of the best shots you've ever hit from the ground. You can stand up, put a good swing on it, nice club head speed, low point after, clubs travel down, a smidge more loft because the club face was open, but 162 carry again. Now, just as a little bonus point here, when you get the clubs longer when the ball's still on the ground, we still want the low point after the ball. So if you're making swings with the ball in the middle, and getting that low point 4, 5, 6 inches after like I am, as the clubs get longer, mid-irons, long irons, hybrids and fairway woods, you can afford to just move the ball slightly forward in the stance. And even though I've kept 8-iron here, ball forward, same move. So again, good club head speed, low point now, slightly less after. Clubs travel down a little bit less, kept a bit more loft on. And for the 8-iron, it's cost me a bit of distance. But as the clubs get less lofted, we don't need as much shaft lean to find the middle of the club. When we've got tons of loft like the 8, 9 and wedge, we want the low point as far ahead as possible so that the more shaft lean gets us used in the middle of the club. So let's see if I can go one last one, really focus on making a great move, generate some speed and try and hit that perfect shot. Felt really nice, 89 mile an hour club speed, low point nearly 5 inches after, clubs travel down 5.5 degrees, launching at 16 and carry at 176. So if you've always struggled with the ball on the ground, we need to not worry about getting those hands in front. If you can make sure that body moves correctly, well then the hands and arms have got no choice as to be passing through the correct place. But if you're one of those golfers who doesn't move the body well, that's why you'll always see this weak impact position with poor strike. And like I said, if you're using some technology at the range, for example, whatever the loft of the club is, you should be looking to deliver about half. And if you can, we're going to compress the ball. We're going to strike it better than ever. We're going to hit it longer and straighter than ever. You're definitely going to score lower than ever.